merit, I guess, to it, that because it is so static looking. Now, a couple of people suggested colors. Well, I tried that. I tried some of the borders around part of it, in colors, and I didn't care for it. So that's something I wasn't going to compromise. So artistically, there were some things that I stuck to my guns with, and I thought, no, I like it like this, and this is how it is. But being so data-driven, such a data-driven type of design, I didn't look at it as pure art, I suppose. So, if it was just a bunch of smiley faces in there or something like that, then yeah, it probably, whatever I put out was probably going to be how it stayed. But I've seen a lot, even on that Behance network and stuff, some really artistic, pure art pieces that, someone says, hey, you forgot a shadow, right here on the left side of this guy's face or whatever. You might, it'll give it more depth if you do that. And that's not really sacrificing much, as far as someone's art goes. That's someone with a thoughtful criticism can see what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go with this. And if you put it up there and you put, yes, I want critique, then, you're going to get it. Now, whether, they come back and say, well, I didn't put a shadow there because of this, there's a light over there. Well, yeah, you just take it for what it is. But as far as this one goes, this is so static. I didn't look at it as 100% pure art. I didn't have, it wasn't as heartfelt, I guess, as a pure art piece would be. So.
We have another question?
Yes.
I'm off camera, but I'm one of the instructors with Lee, and my question is, did the fact that you're collecting the data from the community as a whole, and that's where you're getting your source about typefaces and stuff, affect your decision to give back to the community by opening it for critique and asking people for adjustments?
Well, I never really thought about it, but yes, yeah, I guess I would be. Because I really like. I feel so cut off in Italy sometimes. A little bit. We have friends and we have our family and everything, but as far as a community as a whole, we get emails, for this group meeting, this designers group meeting, and boy, I just keep thinking I want to be there, and so yeah, I like the social aspect of the art community, I suppose, and so yeah, I guess that does play a lot into it, and that was really my initial thought on. I could make up my own list of my own personal favorites, and it might have done just as well. But I thought since the data was community driven, yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I guess I felt more motivated to appease the public with it, that in some way, shape, or form has contributed to it anyway. So yeah.
Lena.
My name's Lena, and I was wondering, I was looking back over what you had written, and I think it's right here.
Yes, just maybe speak up just a little bit.
Okay. You were just talking with Sergio about the idea of the usability aspect versus the aesthetic aspect, and how usability was much more important to you.
I know where this is going.
So anyway, reading over Punya's critique, I find it interesting that he's kind of critiquing the usability in the sense that you kept it in the periodic table format instead of altering it. He's saying, was that a good design choice? If he had written just as an elegant of a critique on, say, the lack of color, for instance, do you think he would have still taken it as seriously, or was it that his critique was towards that usability aspect that you had mentioned as being so important that kind of?
Well, it really comes down to there was I still haven't come across a critique, Punya's or otherwise, that I didn't already try and I didn't already address. Like I said, some people suggested color. I tried color, and I still have a version that has some colors on it that I still go back to occasionally, thinking, will it work? And as far as his critique, as you read, I told him, and oh, believe me, I tried to make it more user friendly, more as a tool, but I just couldn't make it work. And so that's where I just had to make the decision on, okay, we're going to keep it looking good, or are we just going to keep it purely as a tool? And like I said before, 50% of it I thought was making it look good, and it just changed it up too much for me. So people still find it usable. I tried to make it as usable as possible with still staying with that overall layout, and by at least grouping the families together. And so yeah, I just had to sacrifice a little bit of the usability, but then doing what he suggested and doing what I had tried, it would take a gigantic piece of paper to be able to keep everything. I just had to pick and choose, how to categorize everything and how to put it all together. But I just could not make it work. And even after I went back and tried again and tried some other ideas, but nothing would work. They kept it nice looking on the wall, but still somewhat of a usable tool. So,
but do you think it was the fact that he recognized this interplay between the aesthetics and the usability that kind of was like a meeting of the minds?
Yeah, definitely. I was impressed that he was just saying exactly what I was thinking weeks before I posted it initially, and so really, yeah, that did motivate me to respond a lot quicker as well, because he hit the nail on the head as far as what my concerns were early. So yeah, definitely.
And that's something as both as a teacher for me and in working with people creating projects, is the most difficult part about creation of things is you obviously you have a finished product and it's been successful. People do have it up on their wall now, right? So it is a
right.
piece of art, but it's not finished sort of in your mind. It's not exactly perfect, but you got it to a refined point where you felt comfortable putting it out there, and all of the iterations that you had mentioned behind it. If you had to guess how much time it took to kind of get to that point, and because you had mentioned the tools that you used Excel.
Yes.
What were some of the pieces in a sort of rough timeline from start to finish?
Oh gosh, really, as far as like a number of hours, I really couldn't tell you, because it was just kind of, I'd get bored and I'd work on it for a while, sometimes 4 hours at a time, sometimes for 30 minutes over a period of a few months. I did use a lot of different tools going into it. I used, it was easiest for me just for the arrangement, trying to determine the arrangement, was to go into Adobe's Flash, and I just made 100 boxes. I colored each box what family and group they correspond to. I had the numbers in there, and that was it. That was all it. Visually, it was just horribly ugly, but it was just some kind of tool. It was just like laying out a bunch of tiles on a table, and just to arrange and rearrange again, and just to see what I could come up with. And then I had, like you said, I had everything sorted in Excel. I used Adobe's InDesign for just the title itself, and then the design itself was done in Illustrator, and then the fancy pants textured background was all in Photoshop. And so several months of every week, I guess 3 to 5 hours a week, maybe, on average, because there were some weeks where I didn't do anything with it. I think, I posted it in March. I think I started it in November, I believe. And so yeah. Where were we going with this? I don't even remember now.
Just a different. Sometimes that's hard. Have you ever read any of Scott McCloud's work, Understanding Comics?
Not off the top of my head. I recognize the name.
There's one thing that we're using as sort of to help us through the design process is he uses an apple and 6 steps, and there's a polished apple on the outside and the steps to the core, and that what most people saw of your periodic table was the polished apple, the outside.
Right.
And not knowing, or even thinking about the